Welcome to the John Cady podcast. I'm John Cady, U.S. Navy retired and former minister. By now, we have all heard of the sudden and tragic death of conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was assassinated this afternoon while speaking at a campus event in Utah. He leaves behind a very beautiful wife and two small children who will now grow up not knowing their father because of their age. They're very young. Kirk's death should give us pause. It begs me to question, are we now at the point in this country where we cannot have differences of opinion, where we cannot disagree with each other on whatever issue is out there without threatening to commit acts of violence against one another, much less actually going out there and doing it? I will preface with this. When a person makes a hardline stand for whatever cause is out there, and it doesn't matter if you're on the right or if you're on the left, if you're religious, if you're not religious, you're going to make enemies. And you're going to make some very mean, very vicious enemies. I know this to a mild extent because when I left my former church and I began speaking out about some of the misconduct that went on, I was met with opposition. I've had people contact bloggers, contact social media posts, message forums, having my posts taken down, having them flagged because I was besmirching the reputation of a religious organization. It wasn't me who was besmirching the reputation, it was the misconduct of that organization's founder because he chose to live a hypocritical life, preaching against one thing in public, but doing the very same thing he was condemning in private, and then taking it one step too far when he decided to go after minors. That's how the founder wound up in prison. That didn't make me the enemy, and I didn't besmirch the reputation because I was just simply telling what happened. And what happened could easily be verified through newspaper articles, through media outlets, and through official court documents. So yes, I have a mild understanding of what it's like to make enemies because I spoke out against something. Speaking out against church issues now, that makes me a bit of a bad guy because I still call it out. And I don't call it out because I hate the church, that I'm backslidden and going to split hell wide open. I do it because there are victims of these crimes, victims of the misconduct, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's sexual abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, whatever kind of abuse is out there, it has to be addressed. Victims exist, regardless of how hard we try to sweep things under the rug. As a result, I ended up making enemies. Not to the point where they threatened to kill me, but they tried to shut me down at every turn, and sometimes they succeeded. I had a post on the city data boards back in the late 2000s that ended up being shut down after nearly 1,000 posts and over 27,000 views. And what happened? City data shut it down because they received complaints from that religious organization. I'm just using that as a template to show that I know personally what it's like to have enemies. Charlie Kirk made enemies. There were people on the left who absolutely hated him because he refused to go along with what is considered the woke agenda that has woven its way into not just the political aspects of our culture, but also entertainment, education, even the way we interact with each other. What has happened is we also have witnessed the decline of tolerance toward differing opinions. Whatever happened to civil discourse? Civil discourse doesn't exist anymore for the most part. You can't speak a conflicting point of view on any topic without somebody just spinning their top out of control and threatening violence against you or threatening legal action because what you said offended them. Charlie Kirk was brave enough to confront these people face to face. I've seen some of those footages where some of these people were so unhinged when they disagreed with what Charlie Kirk was putting out at these campus events, because he spoke at various colleges across the country. And college is a very dangerous place if you're a conservative, because more often than not, you have a lot of people who have a very liberal mindset, and I'm not talking classical liberal, but I'm talking about politics that have leaned so far to the left. The Heritage Foundation would call them left of Lenin. Charlie Kirk was fearless in his point of view on that subject. He brought it up and he challenged people. And he did it in a way that made people think. They didn't like what he had to say, but he said it in a manner. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't yell at people. But he was very stern. He was very direct, tactful, and he challenged them. He said things to make people think about, well, what do I really believe? Why do we think like this? Why are we talking about this? When it came to certain topics, there are some conservatives who have differing views on social issues, such as marriage, that I disagree with. But I'm the kind of person who tries to agree to disagree with people rather than to shut people down. Even if we walk away with our opinions intact, at least we could have a better understanding and respect for what that other person says. We're not seeing that anymore. A classic example is when you hear the phrase Trump derangement syndrome. Yes, there is a thing called Trump derangement syndrome. That's where people got totally unhinged and started having meltdowns because of something that was said by the current president of the United States. Now, I'm not Donald Trump's biggest fan, but he is still the president. Why did I vote for him? It was because of a matter of policy, not personality. His policies were what led me to vote for him. Personality-wise, I'm not a big fan. Even if I was in the same financial status as him, I doubt very seriously that we would be eating lunch together. It just gets on my nerves. We didn't vote a man who was going to schmooze everybody over. We voted for a president who tried to get the job done. Sometimes that doesn't always work. As we move forward from this, it bothers me, though, that with Charlie Kirk being shot dead in broad daylight while speaking to a bunch of college students, is this going to embolden others to lash out against people when they speak on controversial issues, whether it's people on the left or people on the right? I will make it clear right now, I don't condone that kind of thing no matter which side of the spectrum you're on. If you're a conservative or profess to be a conservative and you espouse violence and you espouse seeking violent revenge against whoever did this to Charlie Kirk, you're just as wrong as the person who pulled the trigger. I don't think Mr. Kirk would have wanted that to happen. I personally wouldn't want it to happen. What did Jesus say? Jesus said to overcome evil with good, that vengeance is mine. Are we going to have copycat killers? When other conservative speakers get out there, are we going to see a similar pattern? I hope to God no. I don't care whether it's somebody being a copycat, and I don't care if it's going to be somebody who's acting out in revenge on the right. Either way, this has got to stop. I'm at the point where we've lost it. We have lost the ability to have any kind of civil discourse and debate over issues without resorting to violence and drastic means. God help us all. This is John Cady. This is a little darker than the usual podcasts I do, but I'm glad you stuck around. If you like the content I present, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will certainly catch you on the next one.